Hey, y'all. How's
Hey.
that for energy, Nikki?
That's a little better. Thank
Is
you.
that hey?
Hey.
What do I have to do? Okay. Y'all that are listening and watching are probably like, what the heck is going on? Well, me and the grown ass women, we are sitting here a few minutes before we record just to make sure everybody's online and doing all the things. And Nikki, in her true Nikki self, was like, y'all need to liven it up a little bit. Y'all, it ain't it. So that was my attempts of being lively. But welcome to our April 2023 episode of Grown as Women. You will see us in our bright spring colors. So you see some of our no pastels, just bright florals and things like that, and doing the thing. So this month we are going to be talking to you all talking with each other rather, about money, right? This is April. This is when those tax refunds are coming out. Or the last month. Well, I guess Nikki, you're the financial expert.
Yeah, they're due.
They're
If you
due.
have
Okay,
not,
they're due.
you
They're
might want to get
due.
on the good foot.
And people getting their tax refunds, and amongst ourselves as grown ass women, we oftentimes talk about money, right? And I've been really big this last year about budgeting and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you guys today. We're going to introduce ourselves again with all of the fun ways that we do. And I will start us off with our newest doctor, Dr. Ayana K. Malone. Introduce yourself,
Yes.
girl.
So yes, I am now Dr. Ayana Malone.
Uh-oh, he froze. Uh-oh.
Typically urban educational leadership, and was conferred the very last day of Black History Month, which I will remember forever and ever and ever, and think it was beautifully aligned. So yes, hi everybody.
It froze a little bit, Ayana, but you were tell us where you graduated, where you're graduating, and what your degree is in.
My doctorate was conferred by my committee at Morgan State University. I am still waiting for the School of Graduate Studies to say that I am allowed to walk. So, but at Morgan State, yes, you have to go through a whole other secondary process. But up here in good old Baltimore.
Come on now, Doc. I see you, boo. Mm-hmm. Let's hit the screen on the other side with Nikki.
It's going to give you all that nonverbal energy. Yes, I am Nikki. You've heard me say I am the double divorcee. I'm a lot more than that, but it's cute. There's 2 D's in it. We like double D's. So we'll leave it right there. We'll circle back to that. We're gonna get this energy going. Yes. Yes, we are.
Hey, boo. Hey. All right, let's round it out with Deana.
Hello. It's April and it's my birthday. As you all know, I'm Deana Kennedy. That's it.
Okay. All right.
And that is enough. And
it's her birthday month.
And it's her birthday month. We are getting right into this Aries energy, baby. You hear me?
Drop them little ashes on you. Say, get ready. Get ready. The fire's coming.
Right. We are missing today Janai Moore's car. She has some family things that she had to do today. Major family things, right? So, and that is also part of being a grown-ass woman. Like, sometimes you can't just sit and kick it with your friends. Sometimes you have to like handle family business, and she's out being a grown-ass woman. So we're missing her today, but we know that we're going to have her around again soon. And all the people that are listening can have Janai, because I know y'all relate to her too. So she'll be back in just a little bit, right? So let's get into the convo though, right? So
did
money.
You introduce yourself?
Oh, did I?
Did you? I don't think you did. Okay. No, I didn't think so.
Okay. Well, I will then. I will. I am Dr. LaNail R. Plummer. I am the CEO of Onyx Therapy Group. I am a lot of things.
Okay.
A lot of things with a lot of energy. And I have double D's.
Oh
Battery.
Lord. Okay.
No?
The truth and the lie.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. I'm like,
Oh, see, it's for the people that are listening. See what happened when your friends don't believe in you? They don't believe in you. You see what happened? They just tell you, you got a B cup and you
We
really know
believe
you're
in
a
your
double
joy.
B.
We believe in your dreams.
You believe in my dreams, but
Mhm.
not my description of my body.
I don't think that's something up for belief. Not the specific part that you're describing.
That's just factual or not, right?
Right.
Like
It
that's
just
not. There's
is
no.
or isn't. It just is or isn't.
It's
It is
like
not.
Earth, not Earth.
And
Like,
we know it is not. I think what's also been resonating with me is I'm a mom and my kids are almost 19 and 16 and that's wild for me. Like they keep reminding me that next year they're going to be 20 and 17 and I'm like, how did that happen? Because I'm still young. I did go to a party last night and I felt like the auntie in the room though. So I was like, I don't know what that's about. Maybe I just shouldn't have introduced myself this morning, Nikki, because I'm going on a tangent.
sorry. Because now I want to be like, so you know what? You need to speak in auntie voice the whole podcast.
How does auntie voice sound? Tell me. Do auntie voice.
Wait, your auntie voice? Your auntie voice is like, oh, okay, no, I probably wouldn't do that when someone's trying to tell me. Like,
Exactly.
okay, no.
I
I would probably think about going in a different direction. But why did you choose that direction?
Tell me more about
yeah,
that.
no.
Tell me more.
Like you'd be a little gentle with
Yeah.
them. If they were grown, you'd be like, okay, sis. Like
That's
when
right.
you grown, because then it's like, oh, you just
You can
running
handle
this on
it.
purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, you can handle it. For
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into this money conversation. And as I was thinking about it earlier today and over the last few days, thinking about like, what are some ways that we could springboard this conversation, right? Because money is such an interesting place for people. Even in, oh man, I'm sure Ayana's coming right on back.
Yeah.
But even in the mental health field, we spend time thinking about money with our clients because there's so much emotion connected to the money, right? And then when we think about Black people and money, it's not a whole lot of us that got a whole lot of money, right? Like we get excited when we get like a Beyonce or a Jay-Z or an Oprah, like in our generations. So our association with money is not always collectively positive, right? Like, and then there's these ideas that as soon as you get it, you have to spend it and all sorts of things. But I was thinking for you all, what is the first lesson you learned about money? And that ties into the question of, did your parents explicitly teach you about money? And if not, or if so, what were those first lessons you learned about money?
So the one of the first things for money with me is how quickly it goes, right? How quickly it disappears and gets spent.
And how hard it takes to get it, right? Like
yeah, and how hard it is to get it back. It wasn't, how some people are like, oh, when I had my first job, I realized it wasn't really that for me, because my parents, to another one of your questions, they talked about money. Like I had to, when I wanted something that wasn't a need, I had to do little things. And this was probably around that like preteen, teenage years. I had to do little things to earn it. Things that weren't my normal chores or things I had to do. I could do extra, and they would assign like a dollar value to it. And I could earn it if I wanted these shoes or wanted to do something crazy. Well, that's probably more likely for me. So so it was almost from that aspect, but that's like growing up. But when you get in your grown, older, and you're in like a career, money has a different meaning too, because then you start paying bills.
Yeah.
And then you really gonna see how money starts running out the door and stuff. So it was, I learned about it, I heard about it, we talked about it. But my parents taught me about money, but I still didn't necessarily get struggle. Like, as an adult, they talk more about things where they had to, budget and be mindful and make these decisions and sacrifices. But I didn't get the sacrifice piece. So the concept of like budgeting, I knew about a checking account. I knew that you should have savings, but how to budget to make sure you know, you're not overspending when you want to get, well, I didn't have DoorDash back then, but you get it. When you want to get DoorDash and stuff like that, because you don't feel like cooking or going to the grocery, or maybe have your groceries delivered. So those things, you know, didn't resonate with them. I had to learn that later in life. And we can come circle back to when you talk about credit cards.
Oh, child.
How many times did you get to zero and
Woo!
then have to try to get to zero again? My mother told me, and I'm gonna leave this. She told me, my dad said the same thing at least 2 times. That whole running your credit cards up, it's the average person, at least 2 times you're gonna be in that situation.
Yeah.
Where it runs up, something happens, you're able to pay it down, and then it ends up running right back up again.
Yeah.
And you have to pay. And those are the 2 times where you kind of learn the first time.
Yeah.
And then after that, if it's high again, it's because there was some legitimate thing, and then you're, you know, kind of chopping it down. He said, but at least twice.
Yeah. Yo, I think that is real as hell. I remember Daddy saying to me when I first got to Howard, do not get caught up in those credit cards. He was like, those credit cards, they're going to be putting those credit cards on the corners of those college campuses because they're trying to get y'all attention. They're trying to get y'all going. And you're going to get caught up because you don't have the money to pay it off, right? And the interest rates are going to be ridiculous. But you know, you're like 18 years old. They telling you got all of this access to money. You got a club that you're trying to go to that night. Yeah. And truth be told, Nikki, I probably ran my credit cards up more than twice, which is why my ass be budgeted now, because I'm like, oh wait, no, we can't be in our 40s doing this. Not for me. Not for me right now, but that's how I see myself as a grown ass woman right now. Like telling myself no when I want to go actually and do something, right? So, but Dee and Yanni, what are you all's early memories of money or lessons that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, I also want to comment on what you said, Nikki, because that's powerful. I had never heard, you know, running it up twice and said, I'm with LaNail. I have brought my credit cards to zero and back probably 10 times, I'm sure. And it's only as I've gotten much older that it's like legitimate reasons now why I might be using my credit cards or credit cards bill being high. But it lends itself to the fact that I was taught nothing about money as a child, like as a young person. Zero, zilch. Like there was money and we don't have it. Like that was pretty much the lesson. There's money out there. We don't have it. You're poor, you know, like, and we deal with it. And it wasn't until my mom didn't go to college until after she had me. She went to the HU as well, Hampton University.
Jesus.
I was like, how do I hear it? I was about to say the other, and I was like, no, HU as well, Hampton University. Y'all can, I didn't go. Y'all can argue about who was first and who shot John, but I didn't go to college until after I was born. So it wasn't until I was much older that she started teaching me lessons, and now she's really great. She's like, you need to get your annuities. She introduced me to my first, you know, the financial advisor. She bought me life insurance that she then gifted to me when I turned 21. And the other day she's like, have you maintained the policy? And I was like, yes, I still have my life insurance policy. But, you know, in not teaching me anything when I was younger, because my family didn't know, like they weren't withholding information. They literally didn't know. I feel like I made so many financial mistakes, like endless financial mistakes that I'm still dealing with. I still own a terrible 2-bedroom condo in DC that, you know, I'm like, I should have never purchased it. You know, don't buy a condo because the condo fees just keep going up. You know, other people's connecting problems become your problem. All of these things that I wish I had known. But if you don't have anybody in your life to teach you, you tend to learn the hard way.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because Deuce, and we'll talk about like what we're going to be doing for the next generation when it comes to money. But Deuce was like, yeah, Mom, I don't want a big house. I think I'm going to just do a condo. And I was like, okay, you're going to talk to Auntie. Auntie, you're going to talk to Auntie and she's going to talk to you about this condo situation. Even if it's in a new building, it has like all of these. Anyway, yes, Yanni, I hear you. Dee, what did you learn? What did you learn along the way?
So, like Ayana, nothing. I got nothing from my family. If anything, I got, oh, they learned that lesson hard, and I'm not going to do that. We just didn't have the financial aptitude when I was growing up. I won't even tell you that it's there now. I find myself kind of trying to teach my family as I learn. Unlike you, right at St. Aug, shout out to St. Aug. They came, got a credit card. I think it was like 26%, ridiculous. Bought a coach. I didn't have any sense, and you have to recover from those things. But luckily along the way, I met some pretty good people in the Army, and they kind of schooled me on, finances and getting insurance, getting life insurance, which for me is very valuable because right now I probably couldn't get life insurance because of the health issues I've had. And I was 26 and thinking, oh, I don't need this. What do I need to think about life insurance for? So just gleaning everything that I could from people around me who knew better because I just didn't have that in my family. So.
Yeah, I remember one of the first lessons that I learned many lessons along the way. Like I think Ayana mentioned, just grew up ridiculously poor. And so it was like you got it and then you don't have it. And then of course you guys remember my mom had an addiction problem. So we didn't have it all the time because never mind, because the dealers had it. That's who had it. But I remember my mom budgeting, like once she got sober, she would budget. And I always thought that budgeting was because you didn't have a lot of money. It was not until, get this, it was not until like really last year that it set in for me that people who budget have more money, right? Like if you budget, you can have a control over your money and paying attention to it or if you don't budget, you just end up spending. And then 3 days after paycheck, you're like, what the heck happened to all my money? But it's because there was no budgeting involved. And my dad taught me an interesting lesson because he was maybe like 37 or so. No, he was younger than that. And he had to file bankruptcy. He wasn't even 30 yet. He had to file bankruptcy because of the credit cards. He had gotten himself a whole lot of credit cards, being a young kid out of Compton, just wanting life, wanting things, right? And so I remember him telling me when I was in high school, the conversation happened when he was about 37. And he was telling me how we just have to be mindful of our money and how we have to tell ourselves no. But it took me years to learn that lesson, right? Especially if I was like feeling down and out, I wanted to go buy something and get that that dopamine, right? I wanted to feel elated. If I was really hungry, this is before I learned about emotional eating, I would just go and get something fancy to eat or something. You know what I mean? And it caused me to mess up money. Did you guys have lessons like that too?
Yeah, wait, can we digress and maybe a separate podcast is emotional eating?
Yeah, because it's not a thing.
It's yeah. Okay, right.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, okay. No, but we did, but and maybe this is more for later in the conversation when we get to things we wish, maybe things that our younger selves that we understood about money. So because for some of us, like for myself that had some conversations, they still weren't the ones that I needed per se. And then you all saying you didn't have those conversations, of course, about what was it last month, the bank crisis, right? The banks and still having the impact of that, especially as people, I know some of the audience being in their late 20s or early 30s, which is, they're starting to get a little bit younger now, which is a good thing on home buying for the first time. But these interest rates, or for those that have kids that are going to college or you're thinking about credit cards, even for yourself, pay attention to that stuff. Yeah. Because it's going to help in making those decisions, right? About those, because we talked a lot about credit cards. I had them too. That's the first thing I saw before I went into my dorm the day that my parents moved me in. Was that little table set up with Bank of America. A little table set outside, set up with little stress balls and stupid stuff that you never even use. Like, I don't have pens. You think if my parents can move me in here, you think they didn't give me something to write with? Okay. Now and luckily my parents were with me. So what they did after we moved in was took me down to the Bank of America around there I started college at 17 because of my late birthday. So my dad signed off and got me a checking account. And then when I was 18, my mom let me own a store account and kept she kept the card, the information. I had to ask her for it and then work and give her the money. Like she, just to build credit. So that is a huge benefit. I just was still stupid with it. But at some point thinking about what would have helped that, like what really would have helped us being young and not having the perspective of the long-term impact, would it have really made a difference? Because I'm more on the opposite of what you all had, where I had my parents really guiding, and I still was an ass backwards fool when it came to credit and not understanding money. What could we have done differently?
And not just credit, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dee.
No, I was going to mention that now, which was different from when we were younger, they require that truth in lending. When you look at that truth in lending and look at those dollar signs, like young people should be looking at that and look, if you pay the minimum payment, you're paying such and such thousands of dollars over what you actually purchased in interest. So just looking at that is something that I would recommend people do. Yeah.
And that ties into what I was about. Yeah, that ties into what I was about to say about mortgages too, right? Like when you refi your house, like you first you get the house and you're like, oh, I could manage this mortgage. But like Ayana said, if you get a condo, then you got condo fees, or if you live in if you live in a community, then you got to pay your community association fees, and all of that stuff like adds in. So you have to pay attention to the interest rate. But those refis, the first house I bought, I refied that house a couple of times, and now I sit back on it and I'm like, yo, what the hell, right? Like, why did I do that? And it was because I wanted more money. But why did I want more money? Because I wasn't managing my money right? And then I found myself in a situation where I needed to borrow money against my own house and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like we're gonna talk, like you said, about the future and all those kind of things, but so many things that people just don't tell you. Like you just be sitting out there learning the hard way. And Nikki, you got lucky with your parents telling you. And maybe sometimes even when people tell us, we still have to just learn it ourselves instead of just listening to everything. That's you. I wasn't gonna say it. I said we. I was gonna I was gonna make
thank you.
It's gonna about we use friends.
Namaste.
So, okay. All right.
One of the things that there's God, I should write a list. There's so many things based on what you three have said that I've thought about, including like, what we have to learn about generational wealth, what we should teach young people, et cetera, et cetera. But what I would like to have thought about when I was younger was the historical aspects of why Black people often struggle with money, right? There was this scarcity mindset put into us because of white supremacy, right? And I'm not here to go into the whole white supremacy conversation, but I think what's interesting is how it ties into today, and that idea of I am now more happy looking at different bank accounts and seeing money in there than any car could give me, than any house could give me, than any clothes could give me, right? And I wish I could have appreciated that, because when I was younger, it was definitely because we were poor, I wanted more stuff. I was like, oh, I don't have the cool this. I don't have the cool whatever. Other kids go out to eat. Like they have good sandwiches and I have bologna. Like, right. But had I just had that appreciation of that kind of scarcity mindset, and would I have understood it? I don't know. Like I can't say that about myself. In retrospect, because of course, retrospect is very clear when you're older, but when you're a teenager, you just want what you want, right? But it's rooted in this desire to overcome that lack. And I wish I did not spend so much time in my life trying to overcome this idea of lack, buying things I didn't need, spending on, like you said, expensive dinners that were not unnecessary. It's great to treat yourself, but not every day of the week. You know, like sitting up in Red Lobster, like it tasted good. Sorry if I offended anybody out there, but it's not good. Like it's not, and not for the 19-year-old who works at the grocery store who can't afford to be there, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
you know, so
I mean, the
exactly,
biscuits are good though. The biscuits be
They
good.
are.
the
Listen,
cheddar
those-
bays
Yeah.
are okay. Like I'll concede to that. But again, I worked at the grocery store. I didn't have no business sitting up eating crab legs.
they have
And
them at the grocery store
yeah, exactly. I could have bought them at the grocery
on
store
sale with
for much
employee
less.
discount.
Right, the employee discount. But you know, when you grow up without often, you know, it's just this idea of I've got to spend it because I don't know when I'll ever get it back. You
Right.
know, I don't know when I'll ever have the opportunity. And or I've always wanted this and now I can get it. Right. It's that D, like you said, with your Coach bag. Like you always wanted the Coach bag. Now I can get the Coach bag. And then you probably look back at that Coach bag like, why did I do, you know, why did I put it on a 26% credit card? So even if, you know, our parents aren't knowledgeable about financial processes, which I can appreciate everyone wouldn't be, like, all of us are familiar with this idea of scarcity, you know? And so if my mom had I don't even know what you call it, but if she just taught me a little bit more about that scarcity mindset, I might have been better off, but perhaps she didn't know how to articulate it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sorry, go ahead, LaNail, you about to say something?
Just real quick to add on to that point, I think one of the other things I learned along the way, and I'm looking at it right here while we're talking, is because I didn't have I had lessons on that told me, no, don't do this. But I didn't have replacement behaviors, like what to do instead. And that's when I started reading books about money and finances. And one of the books that really helped me turn my life around was this book called Girl, Get Your Money Straight. And it was a Black woman writing to Black women like, hey, this is how you're going to do it, right? Like, these are the interest rates. Pay attention to this. This is what budgeting looks like. And I've learned along the way. I just started budgeting, but there were so many things along the way. So to that point, Yanni, when our parents don't teach us, we can still find other resources. And if it's listening to a podcast like this, where a person is like, oh shoot, I probably should be looking at what my interest rates on my multiple credit cards, because maybe I need to consolidate, right? Or, oh my God, I was just about to refi the house, but let me try to think about something else. Or even let me budget because I'm gonna go out to dinner with my friends, and instead of spending unlimitedly, because y'all saw that meme that said ain't nothing worse than a whole bunch of Black women going to brunch and they got good jobs, right? Mimosas everywhere, you know what I mean? Everybody drinking a day, you know what I'm saying? But then you get home and by Tuesday, you're like, dang, I don't have no money in my account. And that's because you went and spent $200 on brunch instead of $100 on brunch because you just didn't think about the budgeting aspect of it. So there are resources out there too. But sorry, Nick. Ariani.
Well, I just wanted to tag back in because I think that's a really great point and makes me hopeful for our future. The resources we can point to now were not as common when we were younger.
That's right.
So podcasts, you know, the daggone internet, you know, even TikTok, and, you know, like you can watch videos I've watched videos on like budgeting and whatever. And so I feel more hopeful, you know, for these younger generations because those resources are more readily available. And part of it is the acknowledgement even of white Americans, or, you know, the man, the power, whatever you want to call it, knowing, you know, Black people were purposefully disenfranchised. So now that's like the shifting towards, you know, okay, we need to start making this right. I think about, and it's only recent because now you remember, you know, Wells Fargo and their predatory lending practices. That's part of the problem with my condo is that, you know, I was a part of that, but because they were called out on those predatory lending practices, you know, there's more information for other people to be like, oh, that's a thing. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Who are they targeting? Oh, okay, they're targeting, you know, so yeah, Now there is no excuse as far as I'm concerned. Then I'm like, I don't know if we had that much access. Now, as access is opening up, it's almost like there's no reason for you not to get your money right.
Yeah. Wells Fargo is problematic as because I'm moving all the business accounts out of Wells Fargo. I'm like, y'all are problematic. Like, y'all just won't get it together. Like, get it together. And those are the things, like you said, Nikki, earlier, and Ayana, we got to be paying attention to what these banks are doing and what's happening in the financial sectors, because otherwise, all of a sudden, a bank collapses and we don't have no money. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of this money, all of this savings, all of this stuff we thought we were doing, because those big banks even have investment accounts. And then next thing you know, we don't have nothing. You know what I mean? And it's like, what's the point of learning the lesson? Nick, I think you were going to say something a second ago.
Yeah, no, real quick to that point about Wells Fargo. That's why a lot of folks are trying to find ends to like these credit unions like USAA, the Navy Federal. That's why they're trying to get something that has this military, because there's more security in it, right? Yeah. But no, I was going to say earlier, and Ayana, you started touching on it as far as like where the need to overspend or buy these luxurious things comes from, right? And just speaking real life, like there was a point where I'm looking at, look, I make this amount of money. I feel like I make good money. If I'm looking at the demographics, I'm at a higher end. But yet, why do I still feel broke, right? Why? Because, and then the minute you get money, like let's say, since we're talking about taxes, you get your tax return, the need to buy something or like there's this need to, it's almost like, okay, I'm only going to get this type of lump sum of money next year. So let me just get something that I really wanted for myself now. And then I'll just save the rest, right? There's this whole concept, like, I'm like, where does that come from? Like, what is that? Where, you, because it's common. Yeah. It's common to feel that way. Like if I'm, you know, I think what I sold, when I sold my townhouse, I got this big lump. I'm sitting, I'm like, I don't need all that. There's this desire to say, oh, well, I'm about to buy a bag. Yeah. And instead of just budgeting where I'm not taking a hit from savings, because I know I didn't just want to buy a bag. So, you know, that feeling didn't come out of nowhere. But there is this almost that, and I think about it, and you all are going to know probably, especially you know the terms, where there's this, if you feel like you're about to lose something, where you want to just react to it quickly right away, do it now, and then okay, I can get this experience now because I'm not going to get it again, versus the budgeting process, which actually takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah, it does. It does.
To do. So,
and when you got that money in your savings account and you actually about to go buy the bag, now you don't even know if you still want it, right? Because you're like, man, I put all this effort into it. Now, I'll be honest to the people who are listening or watching, sis like a bag. I mean, bags are probably not the right thing for me. I will buy a bag. I love a bag, but I put myself on a place where I can only buy a nice bag maybe once a year. And I don't even think I bought one last year. But so it's your thing, whatever your thing is. For me, it's a bag. For other people, it's a car, or it's clothes, or it's food, or it's jewelry, or
travel,
whatever. Or it's travel. You know what I'm saying? But whatever it is, you still got to be able to budget for it. Dee, did I see you lean in, sis?
Yeah, I was laughing because I literally bought one yesterday that I've wanted for over a year with the justification of it's my birthday, right? It's my birthday, but I wanted the bag for over a year. I watched it, I thought about it, whereas usually I would just go out and buy it. But I did want to make a point to what Nikki was talking about the taxes. Even that mindset that I'm waiting for this refund, it's problematic. Like, I do my best to break even. I'm not giving the government an interest-free loan at the expense of me. I want my money now. When I made it, no, you don't get to hold it for me. So even that mindset is problematic. But there are two things that I thought about as far as lessons. One of my good friends always said, when you save twice as much as you are about to spend. So that's one. So just saving for the thing. And then, like you said, you may not want it. And then there is Michelle Singletary. She does a ministry at my church, and you deal in a lot of cash. So the cash leaving your hand versus swiping your card has more of a you feel that more. Having that lump
Yeah.
sum, pass that to somebody, you feel that more. And also we did like a financial fast at least once a month. So nothing that you did not need. So food, gas, bills, that's it. And just doing that and breaking the habit out of spending money every day. Because sometimes I know I will go through a week and spend money every single day. It breaks you out of that habit. So those are a couple of tips that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Dee, that is so real. I was sitting here thinking about, what am I going to do after our session today? And I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Arundel Mills. And I had to be like, for what? For what? Like, what are you going in there for? There's no way I'm going to Arundel Mills with the Kate Spade outlet and not leave with something. So I was like, you know what? We gonna go to the park. Like, I'm taking the dog and the kid to the park, because it's just like you said, like it becomes such a habit of spending every day. It's like part of your fun, if you will, to spend money. And we need to break that. And Nikki, as you were talking, asking the question, like, where does it come from? I think about a training I did with my human resources folks at work, because it was really centered around, like, don't mess people's checks up, because they will come in here and swipe everything off your desk. And then it'll be
my money.
Yeah, give me my money. And you've seen it. Like, I've seen it. Like, they came in, they like knocking your family picture over.
We experienced it, Yanni. You don't remember, like 15 years ago?
Lady's house.
Girl,
you want to talk about that broken ass women over there? She's like, I will go to your house and wait on your porch.
Give me my
Insert
money.
the lady's name. And I was like, LaNail, don't threaten to go to the lady's house. That's a bad idea. But
that was back in the day, y'all.
That was back in the day. That was decades past. I wrote down what I had told them, that money is emotional. Yeah. And why it's emotional is connected to people's self-worth and their sense of power. Yeah. Right. So what you were saying about, I've got this job, like you could be making $35,000, you can make it $350,000. That is your self-worth. Right. And that is you being able to look at that check or look at that statement or look at that salary offer letter you signed. Yeah. That is a reflection of your self-worth. Yeah. And then it's also your power. Money is power in any capitalist society, right? Like, I can buy things, I can go places, I can hire other people to do the shit I don't want to do. I can buy a car, it's power. So anything that you're talking about that is directly connected in your brain to self-worth and power, of course it's going to be abused. Of course it's going to be difficult for anybody to manage, from the smartest people. I think of, like, Bernie Madoff in that Ponzi schemes. I don't know if y'all remember that. Yeah. And I was like, this man was brilliant. Did you really think you wouldn't get caught? But again, we're talking about a psychological process that became illogical to him, right? Because that power got so fucked up in his head, and it was just like more money, because he was more powerful, and I could buy a yacht, and I could buy this, and I can do this. And so it's amazing, what emotional content that money can have. Think about the reason for many divorces out there.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where I want. Yeah. That's where I wanted to go next. Like, how does money? We grown ass women, right? How does money affect these relationships that we find ourselves in or out of? And yes, Nikki, I'm about to come to you as our double divorcee.
Double divorcee.
I love that title, by the way. But I was talking to one of my line sisters the other day about relationships and things like that, and I was like, in the work that I get to do, I work with couples, and it is far easier to help a couple through infidelity than it is to help them through money issues, because there's so many other things connected to money. There's so many other values where infidelity, while it is complex, it usually is rooted in 2 or 3 things, but money could be rooted in so many different things, and money is so intersected when you're married. So talk to us a little bit about, you guys, let's talk. How does money play a role in your relationships, whether somebody has it or they don't have it, whether how they manage it. How early on in the dating process do you ask about their money and their credit scores? And how early in the process do you start sitting back and analyzing, like, yes, they took you out to a wonderful brunch at Four Seasons because they're trying to impress you, but did they then have gas money? Like, was their gas tank on E? Like, how do you let's talk about it. What's up?
Oh
That's
wow,
that's
that's a
that's
lot,
it.
because you
I know,
started
that's why I
from
had to do like
the
that.
you went from the dating to the divorce.
I
Okay,
got
so
passionate.
let me start at the first part, and obviously the disclaimer is these are just my experiences, right? So I am not speaking for the collective whole of the Double divorce gang. So I am not. Okay. Well, I'll say this. It's interesting because I've been in one, marriage where I was the breadwinner. Clearly, there was no doubts about it. And then I've been in another one where arguably I would say that I actually was the breadwinner, but there was a struggle where the other person felt they were the breadwinner, right? But I am in finance. I am all about cost benefit analysis. I'm going to comparative analysis. Work harder, not smarter. So if I can only work an 8 hour, and even though my days go way beyond 8 hours, but let's just, for shits and giggles, are we cursing? Okay, too late.
Hell yeah.
Right, okay. 8 hours. But if you have to work 20 or 22 to make the same amount that I'm making, then comparably, I am making more money than you are, because I do not have to put in the same level of effort providing my services. So, but that was a real thing. And there was a constant need with me being more educated, me making comparatively more money, me being in a circle of friends and family who also were more educated and making more money than them. There was a constant need to reinforce this position of power around money and what they were doing. And I will say, in the marriage where I was clearly the breadwinner, I also had a position of power. So there, whether intrinsically, is that the word?
Yeah.
Or okay, whether doing it on purpose or knowing it on purpose, this is what happened. Yeah. So first situation, this is my home. I'm the breadwinner. I can take care of it. So think about when it comes down to who stays and who goes, right? And I feel like that's an easy, I'm the one taking care of this, you go. But the odd part about that is, in the second situation where there was a power struggle about who really was the breadwinner, at the end of the day, even though this person claimed to be the breadwinner and make more money, I was the one paying more bills. Right? So they're like, wait a minute, hold up, I'm doing this. And when that light bulb started clicking, then it was like, yeah, nah, right. Nah. You asserting power as if you really are holding the coins. No, because you're not. You're not even gonna be here to know if I'm arguing about it, because you got to do 22 hours and I did 9. So, like, but it is a real thing. So, but wait a minute, go back to dating, right? Think about when you
no, don't go back to dating. I have a question for you. So in your situation, and again, knowing it's not everybody, like, how did that manifest? Like, how did that even become a thing between you two, right? So like, you're married, you're doing your things, you're having your dates, you're living your life. Like, was it like, how does the conversation, because I've never been married, so it's like, I don't even understand how the conversation arises.
Yeah. So it came up in really 2 ways. It was either when it came up because something needed to be done for the home or travel or something extra. That's a normal way for money to come up. But then the other way money came up was when some sort of insecurity was triggered, and it was almost used as a way to reinforce the position in the household of why they are self-appointed head of the household.
Got it.
Yeah, so it really came up those ways. But let me be clear. I had some years in the game with dealing with people or being in intimate relationships with someone that was either, you know, verbally, emotionally, or mentally abusive. That's not something that everyone's just going to notice and click quickly. Like to be very, you know, just in conversations I've had with other women that have been in somewhat similar situations, with feeling like they're trying to be controlled or manipulated. I probably was on the shorter end of the stick of how long it took for me to leave. So, you know, I don't want to make it seem like I'm, you know, oversimplifying something that actually is really complex to see that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, but so when you start noticing that your emotions are being triggered in either you or whoever your partner is around money, you got to do a self-check of, wait, whoa, what is this? What's really going on? It's one thing if we're talking about a vacation and there's some logical decisions around how the money should move and who it should move from and what makes sense. That's logical, right? These are logical things. We know what's in the bank. We know what our goals are. We know what's going on. We know, you know, we talked about who contributes to what. Cool. But once your feelings start going, there's something else there. Once you start feeling tight or uncomfortable, and it may just be you, it may not be them, but I'm saying like somebody has to, like, whenever that happens, don't ignore that. If I could give any advice, like, don't ignore that. That is something.
And
that's
so
what I was.
Oh,
That's what I was saying. Why it's so complicated to work with couples when they have marriage or money issues versus infidelity. Like, and not that those are the only two issues that come up, but because of those complexities, like you're talking about, because it's so deep. And I'm glad we're doing this particular podcast because money is so connected to like mental health. It is so connected to mental health. And everybody keeps making it seem like it's totally objective and external when it's really not. So whether you have it or don't have it or manage it or don't manage it, and then how you partner with somebody. Oh my
'Cause
God.
my mental
Like,
health is bad when I don't have it. So
child,
there's a
child.
clear connection.
Waking up in the middle of the
Okay,
night,
I'm
checking the
like,
account and praying. You hear me, honey? D, what were you about to say, boo?
I'm trying to recall. I think I was gonna ask. Oh, that's what I was gonna move into the dating. First, I wanted to ask, did you not notice that while you were dating? And then I was gonna make a comment about something that I had a similar situation, but it was the inverse, where I clearly made more money, but actually, when we broke the numbers down, that person made as much as I did, just from different sources. Um, and as a result, when we would go out or if we were going, his money was just allocated in other ways where mine was not. He had some extra people he had to take care of. But, you know, anyway, we would go out. It would be after a couple of years of dating, it would be like this big thing about, you know, where we went, what we did. And, you know, I like the level of life that I like. You know, I want to eat where I want to eat. I want to go on vacation. And, you know, I save my money for that. So something that we did is we opened a joint bank account and we both contributed the same amount of money to that bank account. And that is the money we went out with. That is the money we travel with. So it was kind of equal and proportionate to the money that we made, not proportionate to the obligations that we have, right?
That's one of the things that when I'm working with the couples, I have them work through, which is how they want to contribute to their joint accounts, because there's the option that everybody contributes the exact same amount, or there's the option that people contribute based on the exact same percentage. And if I make 100,000 and that person makes 10,000, but we're both contributing 10%, then we have an equal contribution, even though it's not equal number, right? But people have to really think about that, because then it becomes this position of like, well, what is fair? And am I feeling taken advantage of? And why are you taking advantage of me? And are you the first person who's taking advantage of me? And see like how it gets so deep so fast that we have to really consider it. So
but let me I wanted to answer these questions. So, and that gets into the dating. When I was going to talk about dating is a little different. No, in dating, it presented differently because, and I'm going to be honest, who I'm dating, I want them to be the one to pay for the date, unless I say I am taking you out. I
You
am
got some
taking you
shifting in
out.
the seat, though. We got to talk about it.
But I'm just talking about me. Unless and I don't mean, hey, can we, like, I'm not a, hey, can we go on date night, or, oh, can we go do something? But that's because I know that about myself, given that I've been in a situation where I was a total breadwinner, a situation where somebody tried to make me think I wasn't. And because also being a single mother and having been the one responsible for all of the bills for so long, I know that I have to date someone that's going to be the one to pay for dinner. Mm-hmm. Now, trips can be a little different. I'm a little different with trips, because it's no different than me paying for dinner. It's like if I'm paying for my own dinner, or we going out and I'm paying for my own brunch, and so that's not that far. It's a little more expensive, but that's not that far off. Trips, on the other hand, I got kids, you got kids, I got to worry about college, you too. That's a little different. So we might be able to meet a middle ground there. But dating wise, with the marriage part, it didn't show up that way, because the rhetoric was when people start to plant seeds with their words, even though they're not necessarily true. It didn't come out that, like, wait a minute, hold up, wait, what's going on? And y'all are gonna laugh, because you all obviously have a little bit more context into this than the listeners. But it came out where this person used to owe a significant amount of, like, taxes because of all the extra work they did. And I remember them saying that they were concerned, it's like something about me not wanting to help pay whatever taxes they owed.
Oh.
And there was no part of me that wanted to, and we were still married together, and I had no clue that I'd be walking out the door. And there was no part of me that wanted to do that. And he would always talk about how, Black women, don't like to share their coins. And I'm thinking to myself, no, that's not true, because this one that I'm with, Forever Love, he got a new name, y'all. He's Love Back now. He Forever Love. He would never ask me, never want me to, never expect it. But if it were really something that he needed help, in a heartbeat, in a heartbeat. But you feeling like I'm supposed to help you, that's your shit. And I don't think it's a problem even being married for something like that. Now, if we can't pay the mortgage because of it and all these, and again, this is something you knew was coming. So let's talk about budgeting, right? We circling back to that. But if you can't pay the mortgage, we can't buy groceries, that's different, right? Because if this debt you have that you knew was coming, that you've been handling before me, you've been figuring it out, right? If that's something we agreed upon, okay. But for you to have resentment because I'm not volunteering. So again, this is a manipulation thing, right? Because I do so much, I'm the breadwinner, I pay for this, I pay for this. And you don't want to help. No.
Yeah.
No. Ain't nobody tell you to work 22 hours.
I mean, and I think those are the conversations. Yanni, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you all a question. So you all know me fairly well, and I'm not wealthy, but I'm, comfortable for my lifestyle, right? I'm comfortable for my lifestyle. And I tend to like, kind of the artsy type of people. I tend to like kind of the blue collar, maybe a little rough around the edges kind of people. And so I have not dated almost anyone that I would say was at an equal yoke, to use a biblical term, right? And it doesn't bother me, but it tends to bother others. So even if there is someone who's interested in dating me and I'm all excited and, a Twitter, they start to get a sense of, oh, so you live here? Okay. So you have that condo? Okay. You own your car? Like all of these things. And then before you know it, you don't hear from the person again. Right. Because it's like an intimidation factor, whatever. Again, money, self-worth, power. like, how realistic is it? As I listen to what Nikki is saying, I too want a date to buy my things, but something you said, LaNail, was like, but is your car on E, right? Okay, then don't take me to the Four Seasons. But yes, I still want to go to a nice restaurant, and you might be broke because of it, but I'm not going to hold it against you. Does that make sense? But
so
more often,
you want them to maybe use.
I still want to be treated,
okay,
right?
Okay.
But treat me what you can't afford.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And again, y'all know me. If they got me at Kizzy's back porch, okay, I'm gonna sit on Kizzy's back porch. Like fine. Because that's what you can treat me to, right? Because to me, it's more of a respecting. I guess my whole point is like dating unequally. Have you done it? Has it worked out? What does it look like? Or for like, I get, well, actually all of us, but Dee and I are not married. Like, what are the prospects of me truly finding someone who is going to be okay that I would be the theoretical breadwinner, just because I tend to be attracted to people that don't, that money is not
okay. I was like, where are we
core
going?
to their identity, or I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Like I said, blue collar, rough around the edges.
Maybe it depends on whether whether a woman still wants kids or not. Does that, you think that? No, and I saw Dee scrunch her eyebrows. I saw her face.
You were going.
I was like, oh no, but I say that because the men that would be equally yoked financially, it either maybe they are at a stage where their kids are older, so they don't want kids, or they don't want someone that has a young child because of their responsibility, and they want to move freely, right?
And
so
the financial responsibility,
right? So that may limit the pool, because that honestly, that's what I'm hearing a lot. That's what I'm hearing and seeing is that is what is restricting women around our age from that pool of men that ideally would be, they're there, but they just want something different than where, because it almost seems like when you think about our age group, a lot of us, present party LaNail excluded, but even though you still weren't that young, but you were younger when you had Alyssa, there was a big push on education, job, career. Okay, I'm ready now. So we were ready when they were like, no, I'm getting started and doing all this at the same time. Right? Like these successful young mothers and single mothers are really just starting to be like in their 40s now. And yeah, we did it by ourselves, but we were kind of a new wave of it being normalcy of doing it. So I mean, is that what you all like? If you do find someone that's equal, is it just they're just positioned, they're wanting to live differently?
No, I think my point is like, I don't need someone equally yoked, right? I don't necessarily, I'm not looking for someone, like, it would be nice. Let me not, let's be honest. It would be nice if he had the private jet, but like, but I'm not.
Hell yeah, it would be nice. Where we going?
Nice, right? Like, it would be nice. I would not turn down the date with someone who's like, we can fly to the
You better open up the date for your friends to get on the private jet.
I'll write some,
we in this together.
I'll write some love letters.
Think about us. Think about us.
I'm not opposed, but I'm also not opposed to when I take my car in a Jiffy Lube. I'm like, hey, you cute. Like we could make something happen. But like I said, the moment or as the unfolding process, where they're getting to know me and understand, then it becomes their recognition that we're not equally yoked, and it becomes a problem for usually the dude. Let's be clear. Usually,
your question,
it's the man.
To your question, I think it's still possible, but I think it's very possible, right? Because when we think about this in terms of like statistics and the census, there are more Black women make more money than Black men. and Black people are still getting married, right? So it means that there are a number of marriages where the woman is making more money than her husband or her wife, right? Depending on if we add a different layer of sexuality into it. So it is quite possible. And I think that there has to be conversations early on about that, in that, hey, I am a proactive kind of preventative kind of person, right? I understand the statistics around money and relationships and marriage. Let us have this conversation early. This is what I this is what I make. You could tell me what you make. Let's talk about what this could potentially look like when we go out on dates, when we do that. I think that people have the money conversations far too late. They wait until they're in love, and then they're like having the money conversations, and at that point you're trying to like still see if it works. Keep in mind that marriage was originally that we have the biblical element of it with Adam and Eve and all of those things from a Christian position, but keep in mind that most marriages across most of the world are business transactions. Those are business moves, right? Like when you have arranged marriages and things like that, people are thinking about how do you create more together, which means that the conversations have to happen before people really get emotionally tied in with each other. And I think that that's an important aspect. You asked a question too about dating people who you don't make more money from. You remember I dated the roller skater guy, and he would, yeah, it was a whole thing, guys. It was a whole thing. But he made significantly less than I did, but wanted to move into the house with me. So because I own the house. And you remember he would not have a lot of money after he paid his portion of the bills, and he would have a temper tantrum, y'all, and he would eat all my kids' snacks to be mad at me.
LaNail, he ate all the Oreos. You were like, I came home and he was sitting in bed. He up there eating my Oreos. LaNail
Eating
was
my
real
Oreos.
mad. He ate the children's Oreos.
And eating the fruit snacks, the the kids pack, because
those are good though.
The kids packed lunch for school, so he would like eat all of their lunch snacks, and then be like, well, just go buy some more since you make this money. Like that's mad petty, yo. Like that's mad petty. But what choice did I have? Because my kids had to eat lunch, and I was like, I'm not gonna be hiding food in my house for my kids. So once he moved in, I think it lasted for like 2 months before, like you said, Nikki, he had to exit because it was my house. But the point that I'm making is like that was the time when I realized like, oh, moving forward, I have to have these conversations early on, because if I do not, I'm gonna find myself in a situation where my kids are around somebody, where I'm in love with somebody, where I'm with their family, they're with my family, and then we have to break up because we didn't have a proactive conversation about what money is going to look like. If you guys have something else, and then I think we got to wrap it up in a little bit because we've been going, y'all. We've been going.
Oh man, I missed Janai not being here because she definitely, because then we can talk about the family dynamic, because we didn't bring that. Maybe that could be another topic, and money and family and things like that, because that's another.
Yeah,
when we talk about money, that's too. So
especially because we have our family, our parents are all getting older. Like we are all together all the time, so we spend time knowing about these things. But like our parents are getting older. Like now we might start taking on financial responsibility for our families, right? Especially if we are primary breadwinners, not just in our relationship, but in our family. And they come to us asking us for things and asking us for money, and then it gets emotional around then too, right? Like where was you at when I was 10? You know what I mean? And now you want this money, right? And why you always want me to pay when we go out, all of those things. But I know we're gonna wrap up. And Dee, I didn't want to, if you had something else that you wanted to say, because
I'd be curious about what Dee has to say about the dating question I raised, because I can imagine you're probably in a similar situation where you might meet somebody who you would consider, but they don't consider you because they see you as
successful.
Oh, right, successful. She already got it. What does she need me for?
Yeah.
And didn't somebody say that to you recently? Didn't somebody come into your house and say something like that to you?
Oh, Lord. I should have said trigger warning. I'm sorry. I should have said trigger warning. I didn't know that was a real thing.
It just happened like a couple months ago, last month.
We had a card party at the house, and one of the friends in the circle came over, and he had not been to the house before, but he knew what neighborhood I lived in, etc. And he came over and he said, "Well, I thought you lived in a townhouse, D. Nice. You got all this stuff." I said, yeah, I do all right. He said, "So you can't find no man, basically." He said, "Start intimidated." And I'm like,
Well,
what?
I know this one. I
You
feel
know
like
that human.
I know who said this. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that human.
And
I
that
was
is
like, wow.
that makes me cry because there is
Mhm.
truth in that statement.
There is, yeah.
That makes me sad.
I also
Because
think
it
that when you're dating, you need to, one, like you said, have those conversations. But there are indications when you go out on dates how people relate to money. You have to know how that person relates to money. How's your mother doing? Are your parents retired? And you pull out those stories there, and then you get the foundation of whether or not they can handle, where you are, or having more conversations about, going out and shared money. That's how that situation I spoke about happened, because we realized that, oh, I had a lot more disposable income than he did. Didn't bother me, bothered him. But to your point, Nikki, I don't want to pay when we go on dates. Even if it's an illusion, like I don't want to go in my purse. It's a thing. I know it's stupid.
Yeah.
So
No,
in the bank account, we used our bank account. So that solved the problem. But you just got to look for that stuff. The same way you're looking at, any other aspects of dating, you got to look at how they relate to money and how they're emotionally tied to money. Is it about power and status for that person? And see if you can sort that out. But it's rough. It's rough, Ayana. And the person who said that is, they make, well, if I have it, that they make a considerable amount of money. So, you are on that level, married. So your friends would have a problem with it.
Yeah. I think this is a conversation that could go on, like you said, Nikki, to a whole other podcast too, episode, because we even have to think about money, and when we go out on like double dates and couple dates and what that looks like, right? Because Ayana, where you may be okay being in Kizzy's backyard, it's likely that when we go to the double date, LaNail might not be.
You're not gonna go.
Kizzy
You're not gonna go.
backyard.
It could be we get a chicken box in Baltimore. Like
we
want
gonna
to
do a
get
chicken
box
box.
at the
We're
carry
gonna
out.
go. We're just gonna hang out at the house. We're just gonna hang out at the house. Okay. So, but the money with friends, the money, like there's so much other that we can cover when it comes to money. Like when you go out with your friends and money, because we see people like, how do they split checks? You know what I mean? Are people like, are we bringing in pennies into this? Like, well, your bill was $19.97. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do we split it in four? And is that fair? Like,
I hate that. I hate the splitting the bill.
But you hate it because of an emotion, right? Like sometimes for me, it's embarrassing, like to be sitting there.
Yeah, right.
And everybody is just like, but for some people, that's the budget. Like they only budgeted for $50 and they don't want to spend, and you got 2 drinks, and why am I paying $75 because you got 2 drinks, right? Like those things are even conversations that you have to have with your friends. And then I have a cousin, and we went out and everything, and she was like, you got to tell me ahead of time how much you anticipate the bill is going to be, because that means that's going to determine whether I go or whether I don't go. You know what I mean? And
that's fair.
Yeah, but all of that, all of that goes back to, I guess, what I keep saying in many of these episodes is that we have to have conversations about things. And oftentimes people avoid conversations because it's uncomfortable and because it has some emotion connected to it that they don't want to really address and process. And that's even having conversations with ourselves about money. And I think that budgeting is the thing that really forces us to have a conversation with ourselves around money. And then once we have a clear understanding and emotional regulation around it, then we can have those conversations with our friends and our family and the people that we're dating, and even our children as we start teaching them lessons as well. So I think we have a tip of the day. Do we have a tip of the day today? Do we know? Okay. Maybe no. Okay. You know what the tip is? Girl, get your money straight.
Get your energy right. Get your
money straight.
And your coins.
Get your coins. You want to get that? You want to get your bag? that not your literal bag. You want to
Secure
get
the
your
bag.
bag,
Bag.
secure the bag, manage the bag, make sure your bag is good,
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
Dee, did I see you raise your hand? You wanted a tip?
Yeah,
You giving a tip, rather?
It was around fashion and home design and money. Don't be afraid to pair something expensive with something inexpensive to stretch your look.
You know, that's good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your highs and lows.
Yep.
Your highs and lows.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, for sure.
With a $50 jacket or whatever.
My cousin told me that years ago, my older cousin Aisha, she said a lot of times if you have good quality accessories, then you could go a little cheaper on your actual clothes because the clothes are going to change based off of the trends. But if you got like a solid bag, you got some nice jewelry, you got some solid shoes or glasses or whatever your accessories are, then nobody's going to question, or it doesn't matter, because all of that stuff is going to trend out.
Tarjay and Louis.
Listen,
Tarjay and Louis.
my favorites, baby, my favorite. All right, let's go ahead and close out. So happy April, y'all. I love y'all. Happy grown as women.
Happy birthday, Deana.
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Deana.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait for May, like May's episode 2, like already. All right. So anyhow, for those of you guys that are listening, make sure that you subscribe, right? Click that subscribe button for us. I know we got some listeners out there. So subscribe for us, whether it's on YouTube or Apple or Spotify or wherever you're listening to us, right? Make sure you subscribe and please share it. Feel free to share it out. Tell others about it. If you really like the conversation, go ahead and share it with somebody you're dating, or share it with somebody, a person in your friend group. Like, get the information out there. We have these conversations always because we're friends, but we do these recordings and podcasts so that we can share our thoughts and our experiences with you. So please share those with other people as well. That's how Black people help Black people. You know what I'm saying? We out here doing our best. So that is it. That's it, right, y'all? Y'all good?
That's it. Yes.
All right, grown ass women. I love y'all, and I'm gonna see y'all later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.